Let's talk about reading slumps. For the past 4 months, I've gone from reading 2 books per week to having read a total of maybe 4 books over the past 4 months. And if you're a reader like me, then you can imagine how frustrating that feels. Because when you're in them, reading slumps feel hopeless and even depressing and like they will never end. And then suddenly one day you just pick up a book and you break through the surface of this depression and you just start reading again and your reading slump is magically lifted. So let's talk about reading slumps, why they happen, and what you can do to move a bit more easily or smoothly through them while you're in them. Because let's face it, they're not pleasant at all. If you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Lara. I'm a bookworm and translator, and I've read more books in my life than I can count. But right now, I'm in a reading slump, so I need to talk with you guys about this. While reading slumps seem to come out of nowhere and just creep up on you without you noticing, they actually build up slowly over time. And if you don't catch them before they fully materialize, then they appear sudden to you. But it can happen for many reasons, honestly. And let's begin by addressing the most obvious reason, actually. First up, you might be in a reading slump because your life is just very busy and chaotic, you know? Whether in the positive sense or in the negative sense, you might be just super busy with work or with life or with kids if you have them. You might have so much on your plate that you just don't have the time or energy to read. And that's okay because sometimes you have to prioritize other things and it's just a phase. And also, in the opposite sense, you can have such a full phase of your life full of fun and friends and community and I don't know, you might be having so much fun in your life that you don't feel the need to escape into another world because your own world feels so magical for the time being. And that's beautiful. And fine, it might be depressing that you're not reading because it's your favorite thing to do. But if you're so happy with how your life is going at the moment, then I think that warrants a moment of pause to just enjoy it, to soak in all this fun before the next lull in your life shows up, and then you will have more energy and space to read. Just honor whatever phase you're in at the time, whether it's the positive or the negative, because another phase will come again where you will have the energy and the space to read, and then you will look back on the previous phase and see how you needed that reading slump because it served you somehow. The second reason, and the less obvious one, is that maybe you've been reading books that you don't really enjoy. Because let's face it, reading is fun because we pick books that are super appealing to us. We pick whatever we're most drawn to, whether that's fantasy or self-help or thrillers or crime novels, whatever it is, whatever the book is that you enjoy reading. You enjoy reading it because it's appealing to you. But if you have to force yourself to read a book or to finish a book, that's not fun, and it will cause you to feel this resistance to actually finishing the book or to just reading in general because it starts to feel like a chore. Forcing yourself to read something that's not appealing to you is a lot like studying, and our subconscious does not enjoy that. So naturally, you're not going to feel drawn to the books you're reading if you're forcing yourself to read stuff that you don't really enjoy just because, I don't know, you started the book and you don't want to stop it halfway. You don't like to DNF books, or maybe you're just following a trend and this book is super famous and you feel the pressure to read it, to fit into whatever community you're in, whether online or in person. And so you feel the pressure to finish whatever book you're not enjoying, and that takes a toll on your mental health, honestly, and it causes you to go into a slump. On that note, actually, I have an example. Like for me, I feel what started my reading slump was a mixture between having a very full life where I was traveling a lot and I had so many weddings and events and just fun activities, combined with a stressful period where I had so much going on in terms of work or whatever. And add to that, I felt the pressure to read Fourth Wing because I hadn't read it and everyone kept telling me that I need to read it, and Bookstagram and Book Talk just keep shoving that book at you. And so I felt like, oh, I have to read this book. But when I actually started reading the book, the first book was good, but the other books weren't that great. they weren't that appealing for me to keep reading them. Combined with the fact that I had so much going on in my life and so little time, I felt like I had to convince myself to read with the time that I had, versus when I'm reading something I'm actually enjoying, and I create time to read the book because I'm so drawn to it and I'm so excited to find out what will happen. So as you can see, you have to read things you enjoy. Who cares about what's popular? Who cares about what people are telling you to read? If you're not enjoying a book, just DNF it and get over the guilt. Because who cares? Your time and your energy are too precious to waste them on books that you have to mentally do these gymnastics to force yourself to read them. That's not the purpose of reading. You read because you enjoy it. So pick things you enjoy. It's very simple. It's simple but not easy, but it's very simple. Another lesser known reason that I recently became aware of is also language barriers. Depending on the language that you're reading in and whether it's your mother tongue or not, and your level of proficiency in this language, you might be facing some language barriers. Sometimes you're maybe picking books that are a bit too hard for you on the language level, and that's affecting the flow of reading for you, and it's creating resistance and friction to actually picking up the book again. And that's actually a very easy problem to fix, because you can either keep reading the books that you are and eventually you will become better at the language, or you can just adapt the books that you're reading to your language level and your needs. And that way you won't feel this friction of, this is too challenging, or having to reread an entire page because you couldn't really understand the message and missing important cues. You can just read a book that matches your reading level. And that's fine too. Now that we've talked about all of these reasons, let's talk about what you can do to actually help yourself move through a reading slump when it shows up, because it will inevitably show up. It's life. You will have reading slumps. And how you move through them determines how long they last and how depressing they feel. First off, acknowledge that you're in a reading slump and just give yourself a moment to pause and to feel the frustration that it brings, and not to judge yourself because you're not reading. Judging yourself makes a reading slump so much worse. Shaming yourself when you're already feeling frustrated is a horrible way to go. I've done it so many times and I wouldn't recommend doing it because it just extends the spiral of frustration. So just give yourself grace and acknowledge that you're in a reading slump and that it happens. It's not something you did or didn't do. And it's fine. It's fine. You'll move out of it, but just give yourself this compassion and this grace. The second thing to do is to identify the reason behind your reading slump. Just examine your life, examine the books that you're reading, examine your own mental health, because maybe sometimes you're just struggling in general and you don't feel good. And so that has nothing to do with external factors that you can tweak. So identify the reason behind your reading slump. And if it's a manageable reason that you can address, then go for it. Just tweak it. Let's say it's the type of book that you're reading. Just DNF the book that you're reading if it's not your cup of tea. And go pick a book you actually enjoy and see. Maybe that lifts your reading slump instantly. Other times, if it's, let's say, a busy phase of your life, then just give yourself grace and let yourself move through the phase of life that you're in without focusing so much on reading. Just enjoy your life if it's too enjoyable and too busy. Or if it's stressful, then just give yourself grace and move through your stressful phase without adding to it the fact that you're not reading. Reading is supposed to be a helpful coping and stress relieving mechanism. It's not an additional reason to feel stressed and ashamed. And also, finally, I would like to add that you should also reflect on your relationship to reading and to the reading slump itself. How you view the reading slump will really affect how you move through it. If you're viewing this reading slump as something horrible that you have to pass through and it's a challenge and, oh my God, it's depressing. If you keep repeating these stories in your head that it's just a horrible thing that you're going through and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, then you'll probably stay stuck in it. Of course, it's going to lift eventually, but it's going to be way harder to move through than it needs to be. If you change the narrative in your head to, what is this reading slump showing me? Because it's clearly showing you something. Maybe that you're tired and you just need to sleep more. Maybe that, whatever the reason, whatever it's showing you, being curious instead of judgmental and shameful towards yourself will help you to identify actually a lesson to be learned maybe from this reading slump that you can apply going forward in your reading life, and that will help you move through it faster instead of having all these defenses and these shaming stories and it's all my fault and why am I na 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 na. That's not helpful. Just adopt a more curious mindset, like I'm open to what this reading slump can show me, and it will probably move much faster along. And on that note, I would like to talk about my September hopefuls, because I don't want to say my TBR, given that I'm in a reading slump. I don't know if I'm actually going to read all of these, but I'm hoping that I can read these because they seem appealing to me. And who knows, maybe life will slow down a bit in September and I'll be able to read them. But let's see. I mean, I'm hopeful. So I really have been curious about the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I've been seeing it all over Book Talk and Bookstagram, and I've heard that it's actually really, really good. And I've been looking for a good fantasy series, honestly. If you've read that, let me know if it's good, actually. I'm also curious about The Midnight Library, I think it's called. I've heard good things about this book and I'm curious, so I'm adding it to my list and I'm hoping that it will help cure me from my reading slump. I'm also interested this month in reading some self-development books because it's been a while since I haven't read any. So I'm looking at reading The Mountain Is You. I don't know the author's name. The Mountain Is You, because I've heard good things about it, especially now that I'm working on other projects and I'm hoping to launch some like projects and businesses. I've heard that The Mountain Is You really helps you to tackle all of the blocks that you have within yourself that stop you from pursuing success and your goals and your dreams. And finally, I'm also hoping to read Grit because it just seems interesting to me. Because I read a few months ago the book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, Can't Stop Me, something like that. I'm butchering the name. But anyway, I read that book a few months ago, or maybe at the beginning of the year, and I actually really enjoyed this change of pace, like reading about someone who's super gritty and determined and really, really tough as nails. So let's see what this book holds. And yeah, I hope that I actually get to read all of these books and that my reading slump lifts. And if you're in a reading slump, then I have the utmost compassion for you because I know how hard it feels to not be able to do the thing that you enjoy most doing. But it will pass. We will pass through this and we will come out more nerdy and more of a bookworm than ever before. I believe in you and I believe in myself. So until next week, I wish you a great week and that your reading slump lifts overnight. I'll see you. Bye.